What is up, you guys, and welcome to another How to Build Your Glutes series, I guess at this point we're going to call it, because I've been posting a lot of videos on how to build your glutes from the lower glutes to the upper glutes, and you guys have been loving it. So I just want to keep putting you guys on free game, so make sure you subscribe so you guys can get all the free game that you possibly can get. But if you've never seen my face before, welcome. Hi, my name is Tashana. I'm an online certified trainer with the New Body app, where I pretty much just coach women on how to achieve the body that they want, from weight loss to building muscle to building their glutes, because I just love helping women have nice glutes. So in this video, I'm going to be explaining to you guys my 5 top exercises that I have been doing for the past 8+ years that have built the lower part of my glutes to get that BBL effect, that lifted BBL allegation that people talk about on social media. And I want to put you guys onto not only what the exercises are, but how to do them so that you're doing them properly and you can get all the gains, because we're not going to be robbed of the gains. That's the last thing we're going to do, is go to the gym, do the exercises wrong, and rob ourselves of the possible gains. But before we go into that, I want to explain to you guys the glute muscles. So the glutes have 3 muscles, but in this video, we're focusing more so on the lower glutes, which is part of the gluteus maximus. Now the gluteus maximus is the bigger, chunkier part of your glutes, which is literally like this. So when you think about the glutes, it's pretty much made up of the gluteus maximus, and that can be divided into 2 divisions. The lower part is the lower glutes, and then the upper part is the upper glutes. Now, if you want to target your upper glutes more, I have a ton of videos already on my channel of exercises that target the upper glutes, so make sure to go check that out. But this video, we're solely focusing on that lower glute. So let's get into it. So the first exercise are going to be deficit reverse lunges. Now, what deficit means is pretty much going beyond your range of motion. So in order for you to attain that, you have to have some type of thing on the floor. I'm using a step board that's slightly elevated off of the floor. It's about probably, I would say, a bit lower than my hand, so maybe 4 inches off the floor. You can use obviously plates, you can use a step board, you can use anything honestly that's stable that you can place your foot entirely on top of. What I'm going to do is I'm going to place my left foot on top of the step board. When you do these exercises that are unilateral, super important to make sure that you're always using the weaker side first, because the second leg is always going to be harder because you're more exhausted. So you don't want to put yourself at an even more disadvantage by using your weaker leg for the harder side, right? So start off with the left leg completely flat on top of the step board or whatever you're using to elevate yourself. You're then going to want to have the back leg, which is only for support, a little bit further out. You want to have a nice stretch, okay? So that's going to help you really get a good stretch in the lower glutes. To make this glute focus, because lunges, regardless of what you do, will work your quads, your hamstring, and your glutes, you want to make sure that your shins are straight, and you also want to make sure that your torso, so from your shoulders to your hips, is slightly leaned forward, but make sure you're keeping your core nice and engaged so you're not having an arch back. Your back is nice and neutral. Now we're going to go straight down, bending both knees, but you're going to be keeping your shins nice and straight, slightly lean forward, and you should feel the stretch all along the glute, and then come up. Go all the way down. You want to make sure that this back knee goes below what you're stepping on top of. That's the whole point of deficit, is to get below your range of motion. So go all the way down, slightly lean forward, keep the shins nice and straight, and then come up. I would recommend starting with something that's as close as possible to the floor, because the lower the deficit, the easier it's going to be for your balance. The higher it is, the harder it gets with your balance. So start off low, and once you master that, make your way up. Now for this exercise, you want to aim for about 3 to 4 sets, 10 to 12 rep range. Now, yes, you can do 15 reps, but I would say if that's the case for you, then it's time to probably up the weight, or even just up the intensity with a more slow and controlled tempo. So count about 2 to 3 seconds down, hold it at the bottom for 2 seconds where you're really building muscle under tension a bit longer, and then come up for about 1 to 2 seconds. And you can use dumbbells, you can use kettlebells, you can use a barbell on your back, you can do this on the Smith machine, whatever way that you have accessible for you to load this exercise up, go ahead and do that. And you want a rest time of about 1 minute to 1.5 minutes between sets. The next exercise are RDLs. Now there's so many different variations to this. You can do B stands, you can do single leg RDLs, you can do regular RDLs with both legs on the floor, which is what I'm going to show you. This exercise will target your hamstrings, which is just the muscle all along the back of your leg, as well as that lower glute. So just this entire connection right here. With RDLs, the movement is hinging, unlike with lunges, which is more of a hip flexion. So what that pretty much means is you're going to be pushing your butt back as far as you possibly can. Now, everyone's range of motion is going to be different. Some people can push their hips all the way back where the weights literally touch the floor. Others will probably have it where the weights go mid towards their shins. Try to just do what you can do, and over time, your mobility will get better. Make sure you have your feet about hips apart. You want to brace your core, super important, so that your back is nice and neutral. You want to make sure you have a slight bend in your knee. This is what's going to allow you to get more glute engagement. If you have a straight knee while doing this, it's going to be a whole lot of hamstrings. So slight bend in your knee, and then push your butt all the way back, and your chest should naturally fall forward because you're hinging. Make sure that you're keeping your feet super planted and grounded onto the floor from your toes to your heels. Keep pushing back until you can no longer push back, and then you want to come up. So you want to think of this exercise more so of a front to back exercise than an up and down exercise, because it's all about hinging at the hips all the way back and then coming up. For RDLs, you want to do 3 to 4 sets, and you want to aim between 8 to 12 rep range. This is going to be the perfect rep range for you to really build muscle. Now, if you notice that when you are doing RDLs, your grip is giving out more than your strength is, then I would highly recommend, especially if you're doing a barbell, do an underhand overhand grip. So one hand is underhand, one hand is overhand. Or you can also get some straps, which is going to help you have more grip and not have you stop doing the exercise because your grip is slipping, but more so because you don't have the strength. Now, for the rest time, I would say aim between 1 minute and 20 seconds to about 2 minutes. This is going to give you a perfect amount of recovery between sets so that your body is good enough to go into the next set and complete all the reps. But obviously, as you go from set 1 all the way to set 3 or 4, your reps may diminish because your strength is slowly diminishing. You're getting more and more exhausted. So it's perfectly normal if set 1 you can do 12, then set 2 you can do maybe 11, then set 3 or set 4 you probably can do 8 or 9. That means you're really pushing yourself, and this is a challenging weight for you. The next exercise are squats. These are a little controversial of whether or not they build your glutes, but they do, okay? And a lot of people don't do it properly. So I'm going to show you guys exactly what you need to be doing to have the perfect squat. Do keep in mind there are so many different variations of squats, but I'm going to show you guys just a basic regular squat. So you want to start, for me personally, I like to have my feet a little bit past my shoulders, and I also turn my toes slightly out. This helps me get a good depth in my squat. Next, bracing of the core. When it comes to bracing of your core, which I've mentioned a few times already in this video and I never really explained what that means. So what that really means is expanding your stomach horizontally and not vertically. So when you are taking a deep breath, you expand your stomach vertically, right? You come up, but when you are bracing your core, you expand your stomach horizontally where it expands outwards. So this is what it looks like. When you breathe in, it looks like this. And then when you are bracing your core and expanding it horizontally, it looks like this. You see the difference? So open your feet a bit wide past your shoulders. I turn my toes outwards. Brace your core, expanding it horizontally. Then what you want to do is you want to hinge your hips back and down at the same time. So kind of like an RDL, but also adding in the bending of the knee so that you can actually get down into a squat. So you're going to hinge back and down. And this is going to allow you to feel a nice stretch all in your glutes. Get as low as you can. As to grass is preferred. And then come up, just straight up. You don't got to do all this. Squeezing your butt does nothing more than probably hurt your lower back. It's not going to give you more glute gains because you're contracting your glutes, squeezing your glutes. You don't have to do all that. Breathe in as you go down like you're going underwater. Hold it. And as you get out that sticky area where it gets a little easier, that's when you want to exhale. And really keep your feet planted, because as you go down, you want to push up off of your entire foot. Another thing you want to keep in mind with squats is that everyone's squats will look different based on your anatomy. So if you're a taller girl like myself, or a taller person, I don't discriminate if you're a guy watching this, then you may have to open your feet a little wider and lean forward a little bit more so you can get deeper into your squat. So don't be alarmed if you can't do a narrow stance squat and go deep into your squat, okay? Because I can't do it either. It's hard, so don't stress. Now, as I mentioned, the squats do work your quads, your hamstring, and your glutes, specifically the lower glutes. So it is a compound exercise for that reason, because it works multiple muscles. But I don't want you guys to be so afraid and fearful of doing squats because you think, oh my God, but it works your hamstring and your quads. I don't want to do it. just want to work my glutes. A lot of your exercises that are going to target your glutes, especially in this video for the lower glutes, will engage other muscles in the legs like the quads or the hamstrings, because a lot of the exercises that target the lower glutes involve a lot of hip flexion, which is like the squats, or a lot of hinging like the RDLs, and those exercises will engage other muscles. So yes, you still will work your lower glutes. Yes, it's a very good exercise for your glutes, but yes, you also will work other muscles as well. But don't be so afraid of it, because if you don't do these exercises and you do only exercises that only target your glutes, you're going to be robbing yourself of gains that you could have gotten had you done your squats, your RDLs, your lunges, your hip thrusts even. Like, we're going to get into hip thrusts next, but your hip thrusts actually work your quads and your hamstrings as well as your glutes, but it is a very good, probably one of the best glute exercises you possibly can do. Now with the reps and sets for squats, you want to aim for 3 to 4 sets, and your rep range would be more towards like 8 to 12. Now this is going to be the perfect rep range in terms of building a muscle. If you want to build strength, then that can go from 1 to 6 to 8 reps. Now this is obviously going to be more towards like your 1 rep max, where you're going to do maybe like higher sets, so maybe 5-6 sets, but you're going to be doing lower reps. But that's more for, you know, not like muscle building, but more for strength building. But for the sake of this video, when it comes to muscle building, which is going to help you build your glutes, you want to have 8 to 12 rep range, and your rest time will be more towards the 2-minute rest. Now this is going to give you enough time for your body to recover and be able to do the next set and complete as much reps as possible. Obviously, depending on the variation of squats you do, so maybe like sumo squats, you can have more closer to like a 1.5-minute rest. If you do back squats where you're going heavy, then yeah, I would recommend waiting more towards that 2-minute mark. Even if your body feels like, okay, I'm good to go back again, still give yourself that 2-minute rest time, because sometimes you feel like you're good to go, but your body, when you go through the next set, it's like, whoa, you probably could have rested another like 10 to 15 seconds. So for the hip thrust, you want to start by having some type of bench or box that's sturdy, and you want to brace it against something like a wall so that it won't actually push back. For the purpose of this video, I'm not using a wall or anything, because I'm not using any weight. I'm just doing body weight to show you guys the proper form, but do better when you guys actually do the exercise. And to know if the bench or the box is a perfect height for you, the bottom of your shoulder blades should line up with the edge of the bench. For the proper foot placement, you can play around with it, but a little hack that you can do is take one leg, bend it where the heel of your foot aligns with the knee of the other leg that's straight, and then just align that foot with the other foot. Next, we want to brace our core. And if you realize by now, that's probably like the running theme of this entire video. Bracing your core is so important when it comes to exercising, especially like your lower body. It's going to help you have a nice neutral spine and not hurt your back, okay? And this is also what's going to help you develop a nice strong core. So brace your core, and then all we're going to do is we're going to push our butt up off the floor. So this is where you're doing hip flexion, because right now your hips are flexed, and we're going to unflex them by using the feet that are planted on the floor all the way up until your hips are fully extended. So this is where your hips are extended, they're not bended, and you want to keep that core nice and tight, and then slowly bring everything back in. Don't touch the floor, and then come right back up and squeeze your glutes at the top. Super important for me personally. In order if I don't feel my back, I like to keep a nice pelvic tilt, so I keep my chin tucked in. Even as I come up to the top, I'm looking forward at my knees, keeping my pelvic nice and tilted. I'm not doing this where I'm using my lower back to carry out the movement. That's where you will start to feel your back. So this is why it's super important to keep that core nice and engaged. Brace your core, push off the heel of your feet. Whoops, see how that bench moved? This is why you need to brace it against something. Lift all the way up, keeping your core nice and engaged, head tucked all the way up, squeeze your butt at the top, and come back down. Now with the hip thrust, it really depends on how you're doing your volume. So if you are doing your volume in terms of heavy weights, I would say aim more towards 8 to 12 reps with a 3 to 4 set range. And then if you want to do heavier volume in terms of reps, I would say then aim between like 15 to 20 reps with obviously a lower load of weight. Now with the rest times, it also depends on how you're doing it. So you can do maybe a minute to 2 minute max. Obviously 2 minutes is going to be more so if you're doing heavier weights, and in a minute it's going to be more so if you're doing lighter weights. So for the cable kickbacks, we're going to be targeting mainly just that lower glute. It's pretty much an isolation exercise. I'm using these ankle straps that I got from Amazon. I'll leave it linked down below for you guys. It's so much better for you to bring your own ankle straps than to use one at the gym, because I feel like they're not as strong. You want to have the metal part of the ankle straps facing forward and bring the cable attachment all the way down to the last hole. So then next we're going to step back, creating some resistance so the stack of weight should separate. And then what you're going to do is you want to hinge your hips back so that your chest slowly falls forward, so you're hinging here towards the floor. I like to hinge really back so that my back is nice and flat. I feel like that gives me the best glute engagement and less tension in that lower back. Then you want to make sure that your toe is always pointing outwards, okay? Not straight, not inwards, but outwards. Then all we're going to do, brace that core, drive your knee in towards your belly button, and then kick back, squeeze your glutes, hold it, and then slowly bring it back in. Slow and control. You don't want to have the weight just pull your leg back in. You want to be always in control of the movement and making sure that you're always keeping that toe pointing out as you bring your knee in and as you kick your leg out. Now, when you do this exercise, you want to aim for about 3 sets, 3 to 4 if you want to do, with a rep range of about 8 to 15. So 8 reps would be if you're doing a lot heavier, 15 reps would be more if you're doing lighter weights. Now, it honestly depends. Like, you can do progressive overload where you're actually doing 15 reps and you're doing a lighter weight, or you can do 8 reps but you're doing a way heavier weight. So progressive overload doesn't only mean just like actually increasing the weight over time, but it means increasing the intensity of an exercise. So whether that's through your reps, lower rest time, maybe slowing down your tempo, heavier weights. There's so many different ways to do progressive overload. I would always recommend you guys to do this exercise at the end of your workouts because it's an isolation exercise. You're not going to go to your 1 rep max. You're not going to exhaust yourself so much from this exercise. So there's no point of you doing this in the beginning, tiring your muscles out, and then doing something like hip thrusts at the end where you're not going to be able to go as heavy because you tired yourself out by doing your isolations in the beginning. It just don't make no sense. So I hope you guys found this video super helpful. If you did, make sure to subscribe because I will be posting more free game on how to build your glutes, how to build your legs. If you guys want to know other muscle groups like your back, your arms, all that, leave it in the comment section below. Make sure you're subscribed, okay? Because if you're not subscribed, you're not going to know when I post the next video. And I appreciate you guys always for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.